This is part 4 of our 5-part series where I show you the traditional African foods that already contain the minerals, the fiber, the antioxidants, and the plant compounds that we are trying to buy in supplement form. I'm Kudzai Msengi. I am not a doctor. I'm just somebody who loves learning, and I've spent the last 10 years sharing what I learned about African foods online to help other people live healthier lives. Now let's get into it. Number 7 is African wild honey. You know, I grew up not knowing much about honey except the usual stuff like it came from bees and it was buried with the pharaohs of Egypt and it survives for thousands of years. I think my general disinterest was because I got stung by a bee once on the nose when I was about 8. So I've kind of kept my distance. And it was not until the pandemic in 2020 when I started drinking lots of herbal teas with honey that I discovered that honey is actually a varied and complex product. Raw honey, processed honey, manuka honey, stingless bee honey. These are all genuinely different things with different properties and very different price points. So it turns out that Africa is home to 2 distinct types of honey producing bees. The familiar Apis mellifera bees, which are the regular brown and yellow bees, and the stingless bees. And these are distributed evenly across the African continent. Stingless bee honey is quite extraordinary. Stingless bees naturally store their honey in cerumen pots, which are small containers that the bees construct themselves from a mixture of their own beeswax as well as plant resins. The bioactive compounds from those plant resins diffuse into the honey as it is stored, and that enriches it with a concentration of antioxidants, polyphenol, microbial compounds that ordinary bee honey just doesn't have in the same way. 2024 research found that African stingless bee honey has stronger antioxidant potency than regular bee honey, with significantly higher levels of flavonoids, polyphenic compounds, and it also has a low glycemic index compared to refined sugar. It also has anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and antioxidant properties. Across Africa, stingless bee colonies are kept close to homes and they're used as first aid. The honey is applied directly onto the wounds, and it's also used for sore throats, respiratory complaints, as well as infections. A single stingless bee colony produces only about 1 liter of honey per year, which makes this honey extremely rare, valuable, and very concentrated. When we talk about raw African wild honey more broadly, it contains naturally occurring enzymes that produce small amounts of hydrogen peroxide when you apply it to wounds. This is what gives honey its antimicrobial properties. Because it has not been heated or heavily filtered, it retains living enzymes, pollen, as well as antioxidants that processed commercial honey just doesn't have. Raw honey contains high levels of protein, amino acids, B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin E, calcium, manganese, potassium, magnesium, zinc, iron, as well as antioxidants, flavonoids, and phenolic acids. But the amounts of the nutrients and the minerals per teaspoon are very, very small. Raw honey is calorie dense and relatively high in natural sugars. Raw honey does not compete with supplements for vitamins and minerals in the way, say, other African foods would. But you can use honey to replace refined sugar while also benefiting from its naturally occurring antioxidants, enzymes, as well as its antimicrobial compounds. That is something that processed sugar just simply cannot offer. If you are going to sweeten your foods anyway, honey gives you a little bit more than just sweetness. Number 6 is African locust bean, also known as iru. The smell of fermented locust beans is one of those things that you either grew up with or you didn't. If you're like me and you didn't, I've heard the smell can be pretty assertive. The process of fermenting locust beans into iru creates a concentrated source of probiotic and antimicrobial compounds that you simply cannot get from the unfermented bean. The fermentation pre-digests the amino acids, meaning the protein is already broken down and ready for your body to use immediately. This is why iru has a traditional reputation for giving people strength. What makes iru particularly interesting is that it works on multiple levels in your gut simultaneously. Research in 2024 confirmed that Eru contains prebiotics, which feed the beneficial bacteria already living in your gut. So Eru is not just delivering good bacteria, it's actually also feeding them. That makes it both a prebiotic and a probiotic food. The research also showed that the bacteria had a strong ability to stick to the cells lining the intestinal wall. This means that the beneficial bacteria can actually do its work in your gut rather than just passing through. Eru builds a healthy gut microbiome that helps digestion and prevents harmful bacteria from taking hold. Studies have also shown that it helps to lower bad LDL cholesterol and supports a healthy blood pressure. Research also suggests that it can improve blood sugar regulation as well as your insulin response. It is rich in calcium, which supports bone density, also prevents osteoporosis as you age. It is loaded with iron and zinc for immune function, and the natural compounds produced during fermentation have strong anti-inflammatory properties. Eru is a functional food because it offers health benefits and prevents disease beyond just basic nutrition. Number 5 is African ginger. If you know African ginger, you already know that this is not the mild ginger that you find in your standard supermarket. African ginger is more concentrated and more bioactive version of the root, and it has been used for centuries across the continent for everything from coughs to colds, arthritis, nausea, menstrual pain, and fever management. The key compounds in African ginger are gingerols and shagols. These are the bioactive molecules that give ginger its heat, and in African ginger, they are present in significantly higher concentrations than the regular common ginger. These compounds work as anti-inflammatory agents, inhibiting enzymes that cause swelling in the joints. This makes African ginger particularly useful for people managing both osteoporosis and rheumatoid arthritis. Also mutes the buildup of lactic acid that causes muscle soreness after exercise, making it a natural recovery tool. African ginger has a specific effect on the blood. It contains gingerol, which inhibits an enzyme called thromboxane. Thromboxane is like a biological glue that makes blood cells want to clump together. When cells clump, blood gets thicker and the blood pressure rises. African ginger can stop that clumping and help blood to flow freely through your vessels. For digestion, African ginger acts as what scientists call a prokinetic. It physically helps your stomach muscles to move food through your system faster, giving rapid relief from bloating, cramping, and the heavy, uncomfortable feeling after eating. It also has potent antibacterial and antifungal properties, which is why it has been used traditionally to keep the immune system sharp. Traditional healers across southern Africa use it for coughs, for asthma, for chest complaints, headaches, fatigue, and across East Africa, it appears in remedies for malaria to stomach aches. Across Western Africa, it is added to warming medicinal drinks. On a sad note though, African ginger is now critically endangered in the wild across Southern Africa. Wild populations have dramatically dropped due to the heavy commercial demand as well as illegal overharvesting. Number 4 is red palm oil. Now I know I'm not the only person who has watched Nigerian cooking videos where they pour red palm oil into their cooking and thought, ew, I can feel the fat congealing in my arteries. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had that thought. I think that my reaction is informed by what happened in the 90s.
Remember the 90s?
The low-fat craze took over every grocery store aisle. We thought we could eat as much as we wanted, as long as it had that magical label.
When people started getting high cholesterol and heart problems, and there was this wave of fats are bad, and people cut fat out of their diets completely. But it was not until people started developing a whole host of other health conditions that scientists discovered that your body absolutely does need fats. Fat is your most concentrated fuel source. Every single cell in the body has a membrane made largely from fats. Your body uses fats to make hormones. Fats help you to absorb vitamin A, D, E, and K, which are all fat-soluble vitamins. This means without fat in your meal, your body cannot absorb fat-soluble vitamins properly. Fat cushions your organs and are part of your skin's barrier. As I started researching palm oil, I was genuinely surprised by what I found. There is a significant difference between refined commercial palm oil and the traditional unrefined red palm oil. So when people say palm oil is bad for your heart, they are almost certainly talking about the refined version, not the traditional red oil. The deep red-orange color of unrefined red palm oil comes from the extraordinary concentration of carotenoids, the same pigment found in carrots, which supports vision, immune function, as well as the health of your skin. So red palm oil also contains tocotrienols. These are a significantly more potent form of vitamin E than what you would find in most supplements. And the way they work in your body is remarkable. Think of your body's healing messages like chemical messengers that travel to your immune systems to switch off the inflammation signal. The problem is that these messengers are fragile. Without enough antioxidants to protect them, they get oxidized and destroyed before they reach their destination. Tocotrienols from red palm oil act as a protective shield for those messengers, guarding them so they can do their job. A clinical study involving 121 people found that tocotrienols from red palm oil appeared to halt the progression of brain lesions linked to dementia. This is emerging research and we really need more studies, but the direction is genuinely interesting. So that copious amount of red palm oil in that dish, that is not the villain that I thought it was. It's exactly what your body needs to be able to absorb the nutrients that it cannot function without, as well as protect the vital parts of your body like the brain. Diet context is everything, and our ancestors understood that there were synergies between foods and our bodies. So please, do not stop eating your traditional African foods. That brings us to the end of part 4. We have covered 4 foods that between them support your brain, your gut, your blood, your immune system, as well as healing of your wounds. Look out for part 5, our final installment, where I've included a 5th food as a bonus. And if you've enjoyed this video, I think you'll enjoy the next one coming up on your screen. Thanks for your attention, and I'll see you in the next one.